I was running from the gift. I don't run from it no more. So I'm all right now, you know. But so I hear him in different ways. And so I always tell people I can't tell you how you can hear him versus how I hear him. It's going to be different because everybody doesn't have the same gift that I have. However, I will tell you that thing that you think about that you can't shake, most time it's him trying to nudge you on something. And sometimes he speaks to you through other people. You know how you can have a thought about something? You ain't told nobody. And then somebody comes say, you know what I was thinking? You know what you should do? And you be like, I've been thinking about that. That's him saying, let me send it through somebody else because you wouldn't be able to handle it if he came down and said.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop. All right, guys, welcome back. EYL. We are in our second home, Los Angeles. And this is an episode that I was just telling my sister is extremely excited about. So she actually told me about Tabitha Brown probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that.
Come on, sis. I appreciate you.
So, yeah, when it was time to actually, get it done, I told her, she's like, I told you. Like, it's finally.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, so, but...
Can we just talk about how the room feels right now that you walked in it?
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, there's a level of joy that has
Southern hospitality
encompassed the room.
So
I appreciate that.
That's a fact. And the pink is very...
This drip, yeah, we're not going to play around with the drip. From the wash to the kicks.
It's giving.
You know?
I'm not even sure what to call the fabric.
It's just love.
There's love. We're gonna call it love. Everything is aligned here.
Love.
The love movement.
Love. So Tabitha Brown, I guess the best way to describe is an entrepreneur, a restaurateur, an author, huge on social media, health advocate, vegan, a wife, a mother, inspiration. Anything I left out?
Yeah, you got them all, bro. Damn, that was good.
I guess. I didn't even count. I just be like, it's you know.
So she checks
a fashion icon.
Yes.
So we're gonna put that on the list now.
Yeah, obviously.
Design. Okay.
So she checks off a lot of boxes, and I feel like this conversation is going to be a multifaceted one. Very interesting, from the health side to the business side to social media side to author to family life. It's a lot of things happening here.
And the journey is incredible. I think people, may not know the journey, but a lot of character building goes inside that journey. A lot of who you become and the things you've learned help you later in the future and all the things you've been doing. So that part is super, like you said, inspiring. It's super inspiring.
So, first and foremost, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Appreciate
so, all right. So let's get into this. I know you're from North Carolina.
Yes.
Born and raised.
Yep.
Small town.
Eden.
Shout out to Eden. Shout out to everybody in Eden.
Yeah.
All 5 people.
All 7 of y'all. And the 13.
We in there though, ain't we?
And the 20 of y'all in the city. We love all y'all.
Shout out
we just added the whole city of listeners.
Yes.
Very good.
But all right, so how does this journey start? I know, you became a vegan. Because of health issues. You was also an actor, right? And then you go extremely viral on social media in a very short period of time. That's a accomplishment within itself that I don't think I've ever heard anybody ever doing that. But all right, so where does it start as far as for you on your journey to where you are now? Does it start with the vegan, or does it start with being an actress? And like, how does it get to like this where we're at now?
I mean, you can't get here without the beginning, right?
Yeah.
It started in, as a child, I always wanted to be an actor. I grew up watching The Cosby Show, and that was my first introduction to acting, or really understanding what it meant. I saw myself in Rudy, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be Rudy's friend. That's what I told my mom. She would say, oh, you want to be Rudy's friend? I was like, no, only in the TV. And she was like, oh, that means you want to be an actor. And so I spent all my childhood trying to figure out, how do I do this thing? Because, I'm from Eden, so nobody was an actor. And so I started doing, plays in school. And I would tell any teacher, if there was a production, I want to be an actor now that I know what this word means. So they would put me in plays and church theater. I grew up in the church, so doing church theater, community theater, anything I could to perform. In high school, I started making clothes. And so when it was time to go to college, my mom was like, I know you want to be an actor, but we don't know anybody who's done that. And she wasn't trying to discourage me. She was, I think, doing what she was used to doing, like, creating a plan B to make sure I was all right.
Mm-hmm.
And so my great aunt was our town seamstress. And so she was like, we do know somebody who makes clothes for a living. So you should go to school for fashion design. Then you can do that while you try to pursue your acting. And I thought that was like, okay, that's a good idea, I guess. And so I went to school to study fashion in Miami when I left Eden. And I was there for like the first semester and woke up one night. I was like, yeah, this ain't it. I'm supposed to be acting. And I called my daddy. I'm a daddy's girl. And my daddy worked real hard. And I said, hey, Daddy, you better come get me. I'm wasting your money. I'm supposed to be pursuing acting. And so I went back home to Eden, now trying to figure out like, okay, how do I get to this dream that I have? And I applied to Columbia College in Chicago. Me and my mama went out there in the spring because that's how they get you. You're like, oh, this is nice. Chicago, ooh, this is nice. Got accepted and worked all summer to like, save money and stuff. I was working at American Express. And it was like 2 weeks before it was time to go to school and got a letter in the mail that said, hey, unfortunately, due to your financial aid that I had at the school in Miami, they couldn't approve my financial aid for Columbia. And I ain't had that much money that I had saved over the summer. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to go. And I was still stuck in Eden, like, now what do I do? And I remember my mom had knew somebody that lived in California, had told me, you know what, if you ever want to come to California, you can come and rent a room. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I wonder if she'll still let me come out there. So I was like, I'm just going to go to California and try to pursue my dreams. I had no goal. I just had the dream. And so went out there. Now the lady, she told me I could rent a room. She didn't tell me she was crazy. She didn't say that part.
Those are the details.
Yeah, she didn't. She left that part out.
Minor omission.
Yeah.
Right. So I was out there for, a while. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we in 98. And he came out there because our goal was to like move there together. I was not in LA. I was way down in like Laguna Niguel. Oh. Beautiful, but not Hollywood. And I was doing no acting. I was working 2 jobs trying to survive. And my husband came out there and he was like, this is crazy. We need to move back to North Carolina and save up money for a year, then move back to LA so you can really pursue your dream. And I was like, all right, I guess that's a good idea. Move back to North Carolina. And it was supposed to be a 1-year plan. And the 1 year turned into 5 years, a baby, and, we got married and jobs, responsibilities, and a forgotten dream. I convinced myself that I could not have this because, I'm from a small town. Mm-hmm. You get a baby early, that's it. You get a job and you get a house and you live happily ever after. That's kind of like the mentality. And so I was pretty content. I was working at UPS. I was a manager at a call center. And so one day God woke me up out my sleep and it felt like an earthquake had happened in Greensboro. And I heard a voice that said, this is not the life I planned for you. And I was like, okay, Lord, if this is you speaking to me, I'm going to need you to show me a sign today. And I told my husband what happened. I think he thought I was crazy. I was like, I'm telling you, I heard his voice. It sounded like thunder. And so later that day, I was on my way to the mall with my husband and my daughter. And on the radio, Buster Brown, who was our, the DJ in the city, he came on and was like, hey, I'm holding auditions. I got a new TV show. I'm looking for a female co-host. And I almost like bust the windows out the car. I was like, that's the sign I prayed for. So I went to that audition and I booked it. It was my first audition for television, booked it. And that's what made me start dreaming again and believing that I could maybe still have my dreams. And so I did that for like a year, learned to produce my own segments. And I was a rolling correspondent, really. I was interviewing all the celebrities when they would come for concerts and things like that. And after doing that for like a year, I started doing theater again and short films, whatever I could. I would drive 3 hours to do extra work on One Tree Hill. And one day I told my husband, okay, now it's time to move back to LA. And he was like, oh, no, we can't do that. We got this little baby. And
what was he doing at the time?
Working at a call center. And he was doing music, too. He had built a studio in the house. But it was the fear of, like, we got a small baby. And he had already, had a baby earlier, too. He was like, we can't do that. I was like, well, listen, in my mind, I thought I had some money. I ain't had no money, right? But I was making like $12 an hour. I was like, I will move to LA and come back and forth. And he was like, oh no, we ain't doing that.
No, I'll go.
Yeah. So let's plan it out. And so we planned it out and we moved. I think we had like $8,000 we saved up, and we moved in 2004. And I've been out here pursuing acting ever since then. A lot of small victories. Nobody knew me as an actress, right? But I loved it. I would do it for free. A lot of things that should have stopped me from pursuing happened. As soon as I got out here, when you hear the voice of God, you be like, I know they waiting on me. And I got out here and wasn't nobody waiting on me. Nobody was waiting.
What happened?
Right. So
Wrong number.
Right. It was like
Morgan Freeman.
Girl, you better go get this job.
Talk to me again, please.
Yes.
This is God.
And my mama got sick right after we moved. Maybe 6 months we were here. And she was diagnosed with ALS, which is terminal. And you only get one mama, and I had an amazing mama. And so I went back and forth for the next 3 years to help take care of her until she passed away. And then I just thought, like, I just got to take any job I can to pursue my acting. Like, I got to do it. And so back when Blockbuster was a thing, I did a lot of films that went straight to DVD, straight to Walmart, those type of things.
Redbox.
Yes, honey. Some that I'd be like, please just don't even look them up. There's nothing to see here, okay?
That ain't me.
Right. And so I did, music videos. I did commercials. I did a lot of small roles and things, but nothing ever broke. However, every job I did, I thought it was the one. I thought this was going to be the thing that blew me up. My husband used to always tell me, he was like, man, it didn't matter if it was $50. He was like, this is the one. But I just always believed that, in my heart. There was always this thing inside of me that was saying something big was coming. And then in 2016, I felt like I was finally getting to a good place. I just went to Sundance for the first time. I was like, man, I feel like my career is really starting to kind of take off in a different level. And I think I had booked my first guest star and co-star on TV, And then I got sick. Out of nowhere, I just woke up. I had this headache in the back of my head, and the headache rested there for 1 year and 7 months. It was accompanied by chronic fatigue, chronic pain throughout my body. I began to fall when I would walk. As a woman, all this stuff was shutting down. It was not functioning properly. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I did everything that you can imagine. I had blood work, MRIs, weekly, monthly. I was taking every drug the doctors offered me. And if anything, I was probably getting worse because they couldn't figure out what it was. I was like a guinea pig. But when you don't know what's wrong with you.
They're just going to keep trying to treat you for everything.
Be like, yeah, I'll take it. They would, shoot me up in the head and giving me all kinds of steroids. But it didn't work. And so my daughter came home from school one day and was like, Mom, we saw this documentary. I think you should watch it at school. And it was What the Hell. And I watched that.
Netflix.
Yeah, on Netflix.
Yeah. Watched
it as a family and was like, this is something that I've never tried, right? It was also, one of those things you kind of hear about and you're like, that ain't really for Black people. But I was like, when they started talking about all diseases are not hereditary, is that sometimes we can eat the same thing that causes the same disease in our family. My mama died at 51. My daddy is 71. He's the oldest man to ever live in our family. Mm-hmm. People die young and they get sick at young ages in my family. And so I was like, let me try to go vegan for 30 days and see what happened. I ain't got nothing to lose at this point because I did think I was going to die. And did it. And in the first 10 days, the headache I had every day for 1 year and 7 months disappeared. And I started getting energy again. I started feeling better. And I was like, oh, I think I'm on to something. And I told my husband, I was like, this is going to be my life. I'm going to go vegan. And that's literally how I got on that journey. And prior to doing that, I had got to a really dark place. I was, suffering from anxiety and depression. And I had I grew up in the church from the South. And I always prided myself on having this great relationship with God. And I had what I call my last call and conversation with him in the bathroom because I thought he had forgotten about me when I was sick. And so I went in the bathroom, I got in the mirror, and I was really in search of trying to see my soul. And I prayed, and I was like, God, if you heal me, you can have me. And I meant it. And something changed that day in the bathroom. I don't know. When I walked out, I felt different. I didn't feel healed, but I felt different. And then, later is when my daughter had came home about the documentary. But a couple weeks after that, I had this dream. And if you've read my book, I have a gift I was born with. Ever since I was a kid, I dream things and they come to pass. I see things that other people don't see. And I saw myself on a show. And I was like, now, God, how was I on a show? Because I'm sick. I'm not even auditioning. I used to do stand-up trying to get a TV show. I'm not doing stand-up. I'm not doing any of the things that I usually would do. And I was like, well, reveal that to me. How was I on a show if I am not working towards it? And I heard a voice that said, start doing videos. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I ain't finna do that. I ain't gonna do no videos. Because as an actor, we've been told in Hollywood, and you got to know that I was a person who was not free. So I believed anything that was told to me to make it in Hollywood. And so I would always be told, you do videos, nobody gonna take you serious in Hollywood. Yeah. And
so you're talking, and I could imagine that from a standpoint where like you've been training at this profession for so long. It almost feels like to now do a video on a phone. It's like
a social media video.
Yeah, social media. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's almost like not a downgrade, but you feel like I worked all that hard to do this.
It wasn't even that. It was just, to me, it was more of they won't take me serious because there was also the Vine era, and I had a lot of friends who we all acted together. We came up producing and acting and doing our own thing together. Started doing Vine, and I was the person that was like, "Oh, y'all ain't gonna make it." I thought I was better.
Oh, okay.
I had this thing where I really believe, when you ain't free, you like to look down on others, or you like to think that you're doing it the right way. Not your way, but the right way is what you're thinking because you have conformed, right? So I went from corporate America conforming, code switching, to entertainment conforming and code switching. So I believed that I had to fit a certain box in order to be successful. And so when God spoke to me and said, start doing videos, I was like, I can't do that. But then he reminded me, he said, you said if I heal you, I can have you, which meant I had to start being obedient to what I heard from him. And so I was like, okay. So I started doing these videos. When I first started doing videos, I was just kind of doing the same sets I would do when I was a comedian. I would, talk about being a mom and a wife. And I still had not, healed myself yet. I was not feeling completely better yet.
Yeah.
And so when I did the vegan challenge and started feeling better, and after the 30 days, I told my husband, this is going to be my life. That same voice I heard say, now tell people what you're eating in your videos. And I was like, wait a minute now, Lord. Because I also had shaved off all my hair. Because I always wore my hair very long and straight. I was always a certain size. I would weigh myself like 10, 12 times a day trying to fit this look. I always covered my accent. Everything I was programmed to do. So I was taking layers off. It's like God was dealing with me on becoming who he created me to be. And so I was very scared. I was like, Lord, I done shaved off all my hair. And I'm really trying to be obedient to be who you created me to be. But this is scary. But okay. So I started doing videos and said, hey, y'all, I'm going vegan. Like, it ain't a challenge now. Like, this is going to be my life.
How many followers did you have?
Maybe 3,000.
What platform?
Facebook.
Yeah,
Facebook.
Yeah.
And at the time, you're doing acting gigs, indie, but you're also, are you an Uber driver at this point?
Not yet.
Okay.
So, because this is August of 2017.
Okay.
So I started feeling better by October. I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to go drive Uber. Because now I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm doing these videos every day. I don't know why. Because God, he spoke to me. He said, listen, you were trying to get a TV show out doing stand-up. You was reaching like 15, 30 people a night. you start doing these videos, you can reach thousands in minutes. And I said, well, Lord, I ain't even got thousands of followers to reach in minutes. Most of my followers was my family and my friends back in North Carolina, you know?
Yeah, all 20 of them.
Listen, okay? But I was like, I got to be obedient.
Yeah.
And so, and I was also doing things on my personal Facebook page. I ain't know nothing about monetizing. I ain't know none of that stuff. Excuse me. And so I was like, all right, I'm going live every day. I'm cooking in my kitchen. When I find stuff, I tell people, oh, I found a vegan option. I would get like 30 people on my lives, 100 views after, a day or two on my videos. And if you watch like some of my earlier videos, I would cry on the video sometime while I was cooking because I'm like, I don't know why God got me doing this. He told me thousands in minutes. It is 33 people on here. What do he have me do? And I also never wanted to do anything with food. Never.
Mm-hmm. But
I was just being obedient. And so October is when I told my husband, I'm going to go drive Uber because now I'm feeling good. And I had, my savings, what little bit that I had was gone, and my husband is my partner, not my provider. And so I was like, I'm going to go get discovered in my car because I'm in LA. I'm probably going to pick up a director or a producer. They're going to love me. Okay. And I'll call you from the set. That's how my mind be working. And my husband's like, okay, Tab. All right. So I started driving Uber in October. And December 30th, I dropped somebody off at, by Whole Foods. And I was still new vegan. I always know Whole Foods got a vegan option. So I went in there. I was like, I'm going to put myself on a little Uber break. Give me a little breakfast. And I went in and got a sandwich. I had never heard of vegan bacon at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the sandwich, the TTLA. And ate the first half. And I was like, oh, shoot, I need to do a video to tell people I found a new vegan option. So I did the video sitting in my car. And I went on back to driving Uber. When I got home and I turned my, notifications on, my phone was like going crazy. I was like, who watching this video? The video had like 50,000 views. And I was like.
On Facebook?
On Facebook.
Yeah. And
the next morning, it had over 100 and some thousand. And I told my husband, I said, I think I'm going viral. And he was like, what that mean? I was like, I don't know. He's like, was you going to make some money? I was like, I don't know. And 4 days later, Whole Foods DM'd me on Facebook. And they were like, we saw your video. We'd love to partner with you. And I partnered with them. That was like my first partnership. The sandwich was like something that had never happened for Whole Foods. The sandwich was only available in the Southern California region.
Mm-hmm.
But after the video, people were requesting it nationwide. So in 30 days, they rolled it out all over the nation. And it became like, it was like my sandwich. I had also changed the name of the sandwich because in my excitement, I said the name of the sandwich wrong. So they changed the name of the sandwich to TTLA.
Yeah.
And so I changed their market for them. It had never been done. And I think Steve said over 30 years. He was like, how did you do that? I also gave them a new customer.
And so you changed their market.
Right. So they had, Whole Foods was not a place where Black people were shopping. Right? Especially not like my following, right? Which grew overnight. There were churches in the South taking buses to go to the nearest Whole Food together to try the sandwich. People were planning trips to go to Whole Foods because like where I'm from, there's no Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
You got to drive about 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was giving them that and it sold out every day for 9 months straight. Like they couldn't keep it in stock. Even the bacon, that company reached out.
It's Tempe bacon?
Yeah, it was Tempe. Mm-hmm.
Tempe bacon, tomato, lettuce, and avocado.
Yep.
TTLA.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I put a little pickle on it. Okay.
Don't forget that. How can I forget the pickle?
But yeah, so that's what began this part of Tab. And I realized, I was like, oh, wait, I can really make money doing this. Okay. I don't know how it's going to keep happening, but I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And what that was being organic, being in the moment. And I've continued to do that.
So within a week, you got 1 million views. Obviously, they reach out within the first week to say, we want to partner. At that point, because it's like, who do you even follow to say, like, this is how you partner with a major brand?
I called all my friends that had been doing influencer work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what do I do? How much do I charge? And nobody would help me. They wouldn't tell me. So I was like, okay, I know how SAG work, like the union, but it's a different world. And I had a manager at the time that I had just signed with to try to like start getting like auditions in Atlanta. And she knew nothing. And all my old agents knew nothing about social media. They were like, girl, this is just a little phase.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they couldn't help me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to just go as big as I can and ask for a crazy amount of money and see what they say. And they were like, we can't give it to you at once, but what if we break it up and you do a couple of other things throughout the year for us? And I was like, okay, right? 'Cause I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even have an attorney at this time, you know? And then I had a friend who was a producer, Stephen Love, and he's super smart. And he and I had been trying to develop a show together. And I called Stephen, I said, you gonna be my manager? And he was like, oh, no, Tab, I ain't a manager, I'm a producer. I said, I know, but I didn't prayed about it and God told me you're gonna be my manager. And so me and Stephen figured it out together. And we probably did about 56 deals together. And when one deal was like, okay, this money, when they said yes too quick, we was like, oh, we know we was too low. So in the next deal, we was like, go higher and see what they say. Oh, they said, yeah, oh, we still too low. So that's how we kind of learned over the years. You know, we worked together for like 2 years. We're still producing partners. Like he's still my number one. That's my guy. But now, of course, I have a team, and then really learned that, oh, we was real low. I could have been making more money, but
So let me ask you, 'cause I want to go back to this social media because it's interesting. You gained 2 million followers in 5 weeks. Is that correct?
so that is on TikTok. So that happened.
Oh, that happened
years later.
After.
Yeah, that was 2020. So December 30th of 2017, I had no, just normal followers. By January 4th, I had like, I can't even tell you, not a million, but hundreds of thousands. They were just happening every day on Facebook.
On Facebook was your
I was only on
primary thing?
Facebook.
Only on Facebook.
Yeah, I would post a little bit on Instagram, but Facebook was my platform.
Okay.
And I probably gained maybe a million. No, I was like 500,000 by 2020. So from 2018 to 2020, I had like 500,000 on Facebook and I had 300,000 on Instagram. March of 2020. My daughter told me to get on TikTok. And I was like, girl, with them kids. She was like, Mommy, you can be like the mom of TikTok. Like, do your recipes, do your inspirational videos, the same stuff I do on Facebook. I got on there. The first week I went viral on TikTok. In 30 days, I had 1 million followers. A week later, I had 2 million. And it just kept growing.
So what are some best practices that you use for social? Because it might have started as a mistake, but you don't have that level of success by accident. So you have to be doing things that you know are working and you've mastered it, right? So
Well, for me, I was doing what was real and natural for me. I never planned a post unless it was a branded post. And I still don't do that. I do what I feel, right? When I was first doing videos, it's like what I had a taste for. That's what I'm gonna cook. And I'm gonna just share that with people.
There's no like second take or
no.
It's not staged.
It would be live.
Just organic. This is just
the camera would be on. It would be live. So whatever happened.
Did you ever feel the pressure to try to have success? Obviously, you were doing the videos. You got one that goes ridiculously viral. Mm-hmm. Do you feel in the back of your mind like, wait, I got to create something similar to have the same type of success? Or it's like, I'm just sticking to the script of what I know?
I'm a stick. Because you got to also remember, I didn't know the world, right?
Right.
I didn't know the world.
You don't know what you don't know.
So I was just like, I'm going to just keep being consistent, right? I'm going to just keep doing the videos. They like that, I guess they'll like this. If they don't, they don't. But I'm only really doing what I think God has called me to do right now. I'm just trying to be obedient because I also didn't want to do nothing with food. So for him to bless me in a way that I had not planned, because I had many plans for acting. I mean, I could give you the layout. Food was never a part of my plan. So I was like, I just got to trust God and keep doing this every day and sharing. But I had no recipe for success other than being true to who I am. That was the hardest part for me. taking off the layers of the old Tab, because I was, in my own words, like I was a fraud for a very long time because I wasn't the true me. Because I created this other Tabitha that I thought could win in Hollywood, right? The straight hair, the thin, very neutral accent. Because I had been told I was ignorant for having a Southern dialect. You country, always in a negative. So I always would try to cover that. So now I was like, oh, God told me he can't bless who I'm not, right? How is he going to bless me if I ain't me? So I was like, I got to start taking these layers off and show up as Tab. Every day, this is like my season of becoming me. It was more about that than anything else. It wasn't about nobody else. I was just trying to figure out what he wanted me to do.
So after the success, obviously the Whole Food, now the vegan community now becomes the marketplace for you. So how did the brands start treating you from that space? Because that's obviously something that's been more prominent over the past 5-10 years. You didn't have any clue that you were going to be in this space, but now you're the spokesperson for it. So how did brands start approaching you after that?
Oh my honey, every day my inbox was flooded. Everybody wanted to send me stuff. Everybody wanted to send Tab products. Everybody wanted to do a deal. And I learned very quickly that the power of no, right? I never did anything for money. If I didn't like it, I ain't gonna endorse it, right? And I also had to like the people, like the business. Because some people, I could tell like, oh, you just want me because I'm a Black woman. And it's a certain time of the year. And I can move merchandise, right? Product. But you don't really see me as a person. And then I would also look at their social media, their marketing. You never had nobody Black before. Now you want Tab. I don't feel good about that, So I would always just kind of look at the approach and see if it was genuine. I would meet with people and talk to people, but always pray before I say anything. I'd be like, okay, guide me on this. But I did a lot of deals that were a lot of small businesses. Still to this day, those are my passion. Small businesses are my passion because I've seen them change overnight because of me just endorsing them, right? Or sharing them on my platform. That's what's important to me. Changing somebody's life is like, that's it, because that also changes my life, right? Because I know, I'm doing what I'm purposed to do. So,
all right, let's, on the media side, right? You've grown in the media empire where you have the YouTube channel and you have the podcast and the children. So at what point do you transition from, okay, I'm making cool content, I'm going viral, I'm working with brands, to now I'm going to build a business structure and do it that way? Like, what's the steps to say, okay, now this is something that we really going to focus on to make it a business?
What for me, it was like very organic. Like, I move strategically. I don't do anything and people don't believe me when I say this, but honey, when I tell you, I promise you, it's never like a laid out plan, right? It'll be something will come to me, and then I'll be like, okay, I got to do that. But like when I first cut my hair off and she started growing back, I named her Donna, right? I was cooking live in my kitchen and she was like sticking up straight. And I was like, Lord, my hair is sticking up straight. I'm looking like Don King tonight. I'm gonna have to call her Donna. And it stuck. And people started saying, oh, look at Donna, like every night when I'd be cooking. So it became a thing. And I continued to call her that. And I was like, in prayer, God was like, I need you to stay consistent in that. And I was like, but why? Like, it's just a name for my hair, And then over time, I really started to realize like me embracing my hair was a big deal for me because I had not embraced my natural hair for so long. And then over time, that's when I was like, oh, I want to do a hair care line. And I've already named my hair Donna, and people know that. So it's going to be like the Donna collection, right? Which is now my hair collection is Donna's Recipe. So those are the things that I'm intentional with. When I figured that out, I'm like, oh, okay, God, I see what you're showing me. So now my favorite cooking spoon, when I cook, people know my favorite spoon is Sheena. So in my mind, I'm like, one day I'm gonna have a collection of these. That's how I plan it. It's not like, oh, A has to go to B to go to C for me.
It's a domino effect. One
Exactly.
thing leads to another thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but I know like when I'm in the door, I look around the room, right? I don't show up and walk through the door for the one reason I'm there.
Yeah.
If I walk through the door, I want to look around the room.
I had like the obedience just keeps coming up and the faith in it. It was like, you named your hair, now you got a hair product. And so like, now it makes sense. Like, I'm putting the pieces together as I'm listening to the story even more so. It's like, all right, I'm giving recipes. Here's my, here's my spice. Here's what I'm doing.
Exactly.
You're just creating businesses based on
Who I am.
just who you are and being obedient
Right.
to who you are.
Exactly. Like I cook, so I got seasoning.
Yeah.
Right? People know I love fashion.
Yeah.
I got clothes at Target. Right? If it ain't me, it don't make sense. If I came out with my own beer, people be like, really? That means she just threw a name on something.
Yeah.
I'm so intentional with what I do. It has to be so rooted in Tab.
So the other part of that is like the not knowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you didn't come from a food background.
No.
Right? So somebody had to give you guidance in that space. So where did you seek the guidance? Even with the seasoning, I'm thinking like, this makes perfect sense, but how do I even go about that? How do I market that? Who do I find to even help me? What were those like times like?
So crazy enough, same as with my hair products, same as with my seasoning, same as with my cookbook. When I was doing everything independently, just by myself, and me and Steven, that was my team, me and him. I would cook live and I would look at the comments and people were like, Tab, you need your own seasoning. So I literally had started trying to mix my own seasoning at my house. Same with my hair. Tab, you need your own hair products. I was getting the essential oils, like all these different things, trying to mix it at my house. My cookbook, I was writing my cookbook at home by myself. And every night I would pray, I'm like, God, I need a team. I don't know how to do this. And he would send me the people. Literally, I did a deal with McCormick and they wanted me to just cook with their seasonings live like I was doing. And I was like, oh, okay. My granny, I grew up on McCormick seasoning. All the people in my family.
Everybody got that in
Everybody got
it
exactly. And so after I did that, I was like, I wonder if they would help me create my own seasoning. So I asked my team and they were like, oh, let's set a meeting. And that's how that happened. With Donna's Recipe, it was actually a very like organic thing. My husband coaches basketball, so one of the moms of his players was like, I got an idea I want to run by you. And so she had an idea to do a hair care line with me. I was like, girl, I've been trying to develop this for a year by myself, but I prayed for somebody, I prayed for God to send me a team. And she was like, oh, well, this is what I do. That's how I formed my partnership with her to do Donna's Recipe. And then with my book, with my team, I was like, I've been writing a cookbook, but I have no idea about publishing. I need somebody to show me. And they were like, oh, let's set a meeting. So the thing I learned about is you can have a dream. You can have an idea, but you can't always just keep it inside. Sometimes you gotta pray for the guidance, but also for the team. And then you gotta speak up and be like, I need help. Because I know I have all these great ideas, but I also know I can't do it alone. So I would ask my team. I'd be like, my new managers I signed with, when I signed with my agent, we would have meetings and I would say, listen, these are the things I want to do. This is what's in my mind. This is what God put inside of me. I have this list of things. I want to do this, this, and this. And it has to align this way. And they'd be like, okay, let us try to set some meetings. And then I would take meetings with multiple people. And whoever felt right to me, that's who I would move forward with.
Yeah. I mean, you said something very important. You said you didn't do it for money.
Right.
But at a certain point, you're making money.
Absolutely.
And so that's another side of a team that you have to build. And one of the things that in our community is tough is trust. Right? So even sharing your vision, but also trying to figure out who's going to handle my finances. What was that process like?
Let me tell you something. I have a business manager, right, when it comes to money. And she know it ain't a secret. And I still don't trust her. Me and my husband, we don't trust nobody but me and him. I be like, girl, I love you, but I don't trust you. Because it's my money.
Just gonna be honest with you.
I'm just gonna listen. Me and my husband, we came from nothing together. Right, we've been together for 25 years next month, and we still keep a notebook. We still write things down. That's how we started. And so we be like, wait a minute, we gotta really look at this. Like we got the apps. We can go online and look, but no, I need to look at it our way. It's hard finding people in the industry that you can trust. And people have tried to get over on me. People have tried to steal from me. And it's disheartening because I be wanting everybody to win. And I always tell people, you know how you said I walked in a room and you could feel it. That's how I always want to present, right? It's only two things that will take me out of that element. Is if you mess with my family or you mess with my money. Because I take care of my family with my money, right? And so as a Black woman, it's already hard, in an industry that is, or in a world rather, that was not created to cater to us. But then when you become like very successful and you're a Southern country Black woman, people think you dumb. So they think that they can, take advantage of you. And so that's what makes it even more so hard to trust people, right? But I'm very grateful that I do have a good team and I've established like a good business manager. The company, I did my homework. I made sure I was like, let me look and see if y'all done ever had a situation. Listen, when y'all had Steve Harvey, I called her the next day. You see what I'm saying? I sent her the video. I said, now listen, this is why I don't trust you.
Skip to the 45-minute mark.
Ain't nobody got time.
That's it.
Listen.
Fast forward to the part where you talk about the tax.
Yeah.
That's why I don't trust you.
That was a crazy story.
I was like, I'm going to need you. And it's so funny because I sent her that. I was like, I know that you sent them to me, but I need you to, the printout of my receipts. I don't want the computer ones. I want the printout of my tax receipts. But those little things like that, we need a little reminder every now and then because sometimes we can get a little comfortable. Mm. And we can't do that. We can't lose sight. Listen, if I got $3 missing, I want to know where it is.
No, I hear you.
Every dollar, nah.
So let's talk about, so you're in the food space, you got the recipes. When do you turn to a restaurateur? And what's the process of opening the restaurant?
Now, let me tell you this. Neiman, I love him. He's a sweetheart. I went to Kill My Name. I was shooting The Chi in Chicago, so I was there for...
Kill My Name?
Yeah, that's a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was. Let's get to it. So I went to the Kill My Name. The original one is in Chicago.
Yeah,
I fell in love with it. Yeah. Fell in love with it. And I fell in love with Neiman. And I was like, y'all, you need one of these in LA. And I was like thinking like, I'm going to go to the restaurant again because I was staying in Chicago for a couple months. And I was like, if he says something about doing one of these in LA, I'm a partner with him. He came to the table that day and he was like, I've been thinking about coming to LA and looking for a building. I said, you know what? I want to partner with you. And so while Kill My Name is not mine, it's Neiman's. I did partner with him to have one here in LA. But restaurant business lets you know how you really can't trust people. Right? Not Neiman. I love him.
Yeah.
He was I told him. Oh, you told him? Oh, yeah. So shout out to Slutty Vegan. Shout out to Pinky. Yeah.
Yes. He is so passionate about restaurant business. And for me, if it was my restaurant like it is his, like if it was my brand and I was there every day, I could see myself building more, right? And maybe later in life. But so many issues happened with like the building, right? Things that you don't think that you're going to run into.
Structural issues?
Yes. Slum, and also slumlords. I'm going to go on and say that.
Or the landlord.
Mm-hmm. And it became a whole legal thing that I was like, oh, I'm going to have to, because now you mess with my money, right? And Neiman's money, right? So, but just so many things that you can't rush into. That's what I learned. I was like, you know what? in Chicago, he did it one way, and so he thought it would work the same in LA. I've never opened a restaurant, so I trusted that. And I was like, you know what? If this is how you do it, let's do it. I'm going to give you the money. I know I'm going to get the people in here. You ain't going to never have to worry about, people coming. But that's his passion. But the people, trying to find people to help you, like work in a restaurant, to show up every day to work, to also be honest, it was hard. That part was hard too. So more power to all the people. I love Pinky. I'd be like, girl, honey, very good. Very good. But I said, I'm gonna go ahead and just put food in Target.
So you're not in the business anymore?
No, we actually closed the one in LA down last summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you're gonna put food in Target?
Right. Well, I already have food in Target.
Yeah. So we got to get to that part, because that's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, being inside, the big four retailers is tough. So, obviously the season ends and you have deals with making food. So how did they approach you? Who approached you? Like, how did that work?
So Target, same way, very organic. I was doing what they call Target Family with them for like a year as an influencer, doing content. And like for the holidays or back to school, they send me stuff, I do videos. When I first started working with them, what I loved about Target instantly was I would do a video and I would send it in for approval. And I would just be waiting for their feedback to tell me what to change. And they never wanted anything changed. They was like, oh, we love it. And I was like, y'all gonna let Tab just be Tab? Because I was seeing other, work with other brands, and they were like, could you do this? And then I'd be like, you know what? This is not gonna work out. Target never, ever tried to change me. They was like, no, lean more into whatever you want to do, we love it. They didn't care if I talked about God. They didn't care if I talked about veganism. They didn't care as long as I was being me. So I did that for like a year with them, and when they presented, an opportunity to do something bigger, I was like, I'm all ears. What do you want to do? And they knew that I had studied fashion. And so they were like, we have this idea that we've never done it before, but we would love to do 4 exclusive collections with you across the whole store. So I was like, you ain't never did it before. Now you speaking my language, because I like to do things that ain't never been done. And so I said, yeah, we talked about it. And I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. I get to do, clothing and accessories. I love glasses. I love clothes. I get to do swimwear. And it's all inclusive, which is what I love. Like, I'm from the South. All the women in my family thick. We big women in the South, okay? And so I was like, I can make, stuff that my mother would have been able to wear, and my sister and my aunts. And I was excited to do that. But then I also got to design furniture. I had never did that before. Furniture and office supplies and, then from there, food, which is my, now like something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
And to do a vegan collection and kitchen, wear. And now I have my 4th drop that comes out this summer will be outdoor entertainment. And so I'm super excited to do it. I love that I was the first. I had my own merch line that I used to do, which is one of the first ways that I made a lot of money. And I did that independently on my own. And so I would go downtown and buy the T-shirts in bulk, then find a printer, take them to the printer, design the logo, do all the things. And to be able to go and partner with somebody like Target, where I, was in the corporate headquarters in the room while things are being styled and, designing it with them and looking at colorways and doing the whole thing. I was like, oh, I feel like, okay, this is why you do it yourself first. So you can really appreciate when you get to this place.
So is it your brand, or is it Target? Is it Target and then you're like the designer on it?
Right.
Okay.
So it's Tabitha Brown for Target.
Okay.
Right. And so, but everything I got to do, right? So they would give me like a whole bunch of color palettes. And then I pick what I want and the designs I want. I tell them what I envision and how I want.
You're like the creative director.
Right. Yeah.
Of the line.
Yeah.
So, okay. let's talk about your spirituality,
Okay.
because that's something obviously that's extremely important to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, is that an issue
Mm-hmm.
in business? How do you, walk that line,
Mm-hmm.
or is it a line to walk as far as spirituality? And because a lot of times people say, like, separate church and state, right? Like separate church and business. Like, you know what I mean? Like as far as whatever your religious beliefs are, that's fine. You can mention it, but don't overbleed it too much in your business because you might alienate people. You might even offend people, right? Or it's a lot of times you don't see people like overly expressing their religious beliefs or their spirituality. But so what's your thoughts on that?
It's who I am. Right. I always share openly my love of God. But I'm also very open about my dislike of religion. I feel that religion causes separation. My mother was a pastor later in her life, and she told me, she said, listen, don't ever get caught up in religion, get caught up in your relationship with God. And that is what I talk about all the time. People know who I am when I walk in the door. If you book me, you already know me. And I don't come to judge. I come in love. I think that my love of God is very known, so I don't have to walk in the room and talk about it, right? But if the opportunity presents itself, you know where I'm rooted. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't shy away from it if somebody want to have a conversation.
Do you think that that's actually helped you? As far as, do you think that a lot of brands have, they want to work with you as far as because of that? Because, a lot of, especially like in the Bible Belt in the South, different things of that nature. So a lot of times what somebody might look at as a handicap is actually a benefit.
I think it has its pros and cons, right? Some people don't want to work with me because they don't like that.
Okay.
But I always say them ain't my people. That ain't who I'm supposed to work with. That means you don't like Tab, right? And that is also some church folk. Some church folks say I ain't Christian enough. That ain't my business.
Like too liberal.
Yeah.
Right. I love everybody. One of my best friends is Muslim. One of my best friends, right? And so I think that we get to a place to where we so focused on what you were taught, you ain't even having a relationship, right? That's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that you got these strong beliefs in something because of what you were taught. I'm telling you what I know, what's in here, what I've heard. Nobody taught me the God I know. It wasn't taught to me. It was developed inside of me. And that's a difference. And so, if you look at my content, Tab, I always give glory to God. I do credit him for everything that I am. And I also do the work, right? And so if somebody be like, I've had people say, Tab, you might want to tone it down, talking about God all the time on your social or whatever, because, people ain't going to work, they ain't going to want to work with you. I was like, ooh, honey, let me turn it up a little bit because I want to make sure those people stay clear.
I want to let them know that you should not be working with
don't
me.
work with Tab, honey, because I'm going to still show up as this Tab, right? But I love people. I believe in people, right? I believe we all got something great to offer.
Yeah.
No matter what you believe, no matter the God that you may feel exists in your life, I still believe in people. We don't have to have the same belief for me to love you, right? For me to see you. We don't have to have the same belief. Or for us to work together, right? And what you do at home, honey, that's your business, right? But this is who I am, and I ain't gonna change.
Nor should you.
Nope, and I ain't gonna do it.
It ain't gonna happen. So inside of that, the business, there's a lot of verticals there. I heard design, I heard the cooking, obviously the media, the books. I don't even want to use the word balance, but how do you delegate managing all these things at the same time?
I'm first, right? That's priority. Then it's my family. And then I have a good schedule, right? I put everything on the calendar. My husband hate to hear me say that. I'm like, you look at the calendar, you be like, Lord, here we go with this calendar. But that's how I do it. But I schedule my own breaks. And those breaks sometimes happen throughout my day, because I want to make sure I'm all right. I have struggled with anxiety and depression before, and I don't want to go back. So I don't allow myself to get burned out. And I really love what I do. I love it. And when you love it, it is easy to balance. It's easy to balance when you love it. When you are doing it because you're trying to make money, or you're doing it because you're trying to survive, or you're doing it to try to be like somebody else, it's a balancing act. It's hard and it's heavy. But when you really love it and you're doing it because you were called to do it and it's part of your purpose, it's easy to balance.
I just want, because I'm thinking now about the Target situation, right? And obviously there's food inside of there, your brand. But it started with Whole Foods or the partnership. And so in terms of having two obviously separate corporate companies that you worked with, was there a battle, or was there a negotiation saying, hey, like, yo, this is what they're offering, this is what, and we'll just choose which one suits us best? Or
Oh no, Whole Foods, I worked with them up until maybe like 2 years ago.
well,
Right. So it's a different situation. But also they could not offer me the things that Target offered me, right? There's no clothing in
right.
there,
It's different
So
verticals.
it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But also Whole Foods, they had their role in my journey. That was their role.
Yeah, we're not lifelong partners.
Listen, you got to know your season.
That's a fact. Everybody's not A to Z.
And listen, it was a great season, and I will forever love them. And who knows, I could always go back to them.
Yeah.
I also, we have products inside of Whole Foods. I have products everywhere. I got products in Walmart, even though I partner with Target. I got them in every grocery store, even though I partner with Target.
Yeah.
My season ain't just at Target. Donna's Recipe ain't just gonna be at Ulta. So there's a way you do business. There's a way that Tabitha Brown can show up. Then there's a way that my businesses and brands can show up, right? So you can't lock my brand in a deal. You might be able to, partner with Tab and I have exclusivity, but then I have a brand that you don't own, right? Nobody own me, but I own my brand. So I can put that in wherever I want to.
So talk about that as far as separating the brand from the personality. That's something that it could be a gift and a curse, right? When somebody just associates you with the brand, it's like we don't associate Phil Knight with Nike, right? But we do associate Michael Jordan with Jordan brand. Gift and pros and cons with both, right?
Yeah.
So do you ever separate yourself from the brand, or do you think it's just completely tied together? Like, what's your thoughts on, and just for in entrepreneurs in general in this new age of social media, as far as battling between that, like, should I put this on social media? Should I not put this on social media? Should I always attach my own personal brand to the company? Should I back out a little bit? Like, what's your philosophy?
I think that if you are your brand, right? I am my brand. I am Tabitha Brown. If I own it, like I own Donna's Recipe, I'm always going to be attached to it. I don't own Target. I partner with them, right? So people can still go to Target and not think about Tab, right? I won't forever be, oh, is she the Target lady? No, she Tabitha Brown. She just so happened to have a partnership with Target. But Donna's Recipe, that's going to always be Tabitha Brown, right? Because people are going to know, oh, that's Donna, oh, that's her. And I own it. So I think that as long as you know the difference of partnership versus ownership, because there's a big difference there. And if you have that understanding, then you're going to be all right.
Okay. But so let's talk about the motivation behind Tab Time.
Yes.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. What made you want to do it, and what's the dynamics of that?
So Tab Time is my children's show. And for about 4 years, every day in prayer, I would hear God speak to me. He would say, heal the world. I need you to heal the world. And I'd be like, Lord, I'm one person. How am I going to heal the world?
So how often do you actually hear God?
Very often. So I always tell, I get this question a lot. There's a different way of hearing him. Now, to hear the voice that sounds like thunder has only happened to me once.
That's like the Morgan Freeman.
It was I wish it sounded like Morgan.
Like,
Okay.
No, because that's what you think of, like the voice of God.
Right.
Like the voice of God, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it sounded more like thunder, and it scared me very badly.
Scared life into you.
Exactly. But then there's a way that, because everybody is not ready to hear the voice. And so he will sometimes make the voice sound very familiar to you. So like when my mama was sick, she had ALS, so she could no longer talk towards the end of her life. And we'd have to read her lips, or she could have a very small whisper. And so I'd be at her house and I'd be in the office, and her bedroom was way down the hall. And I could hear her as plain as day call me. And I would go in there, I'd be like, "You call me, Mom?" And she'd look at me like, "Now, how I call you?" And I was like, and so she explained to me, she said, sometimes God will use a voice that sounds like somebody that you know, not to scare you. And so sometimes I'll hear the voice that sounds familiar. Like it could sound like my son calling me. It could sound like my daughter. But sometimes it's a whisper that I hear that is nagging. So it's like, unless I address it, it won't go away, right? And sometimes it's in a dream. Sometimes it's in a dream, I'm not as, this used to be the joke with me and my mama, because my mama knew my gift. I ain't scared of my dreams. In the daytime, give me a minute, because you got to understand, like, I'm a child. I was a little girl seeing things that nobody else saw, right? I could see something run across the floor, or I could see somebody's face change.
Is this like visions?
Like Sixth Sense?
Yes. And so that's a very scary thing as a child. And then, me and my husband just talking about this on Fridays with Having Chance. I was like 26, 28 before I could sleep with the lights off with us together. And we got a TV. We could finally afford one that had the timer. So that in our bedroom, so he would set it on 45 minutes so I could fall asleep, so I could have light, in the room before I fell asleep, because of the things that I would see, at night would scare me. But that was because I was running. I was running from the gift. I don't run from it no more. So I'm all right now, But so I hear him in different ways. And so I always tell people, I can't tell you how you can hear him versus how I hear him. It's going to be different because everybody doesn't have the same gift that I have. However, I will tell you that thing that you think about that you can't shake, most time is him trying to nudge you on something. And sometimes he speaks to you through other people. You know how you can have a thought about something? You ain't told nobody. And then somebody comes say, "You know what I was thinking? You know what you should do?" And you be like, I've been thinking about that. That's him saying, "Let me send it through somebody else," because you wouldn't be able to handle it if he came down and said, that Morgan Freeman voice. But it comes in different ways. So I was, in prayer, and I kept hearing, "I need you to heal the world." And so I was like, how do I do this? When I first went vegan and healed myself, I was like, oh, he meant my body is my world. And now I'm healed. And he was like, "That's cute, Tab, but that ain't it." And so one morning he was like, "It starts with children." And I was like, oh, okay. So I told my team, I was like, "Listen, I want to do a children's show because I have this idea that if I can teach children to love themselves, to love each other, to see each other despite our differences, have compassion for each other, and we do this while learning together about the world, those same children will have this inside of them, and they'll grow up one day and be adults who still see each other, who still love each other, have compassion for each other, but will also be willing to help heal each other." That's the plan. And that's why I decided to do Tab Time. And I also wanted to slow television back down for children. I grew up on like Mr. Rogers. And so I just felt like we needed to slow it down. My son was diagnosed with motor tics when he was 8. And a lot of children have motor tics or high anxiety. And the children's programming overstimulates children. All the colors and a lot of like the loud sounds and like very fast-paced music is actually overstimulating to children. And so you'll find in like the comments when people are talking about tab time that a lot of children with like autism or motor tics or anxiety, they have them watch and it calms them down. And it's important, I think, that we remember that we only have children for a very small amount of time. A good 10 years is all we got. And we adult for the rest of our life.
Mm-hmm.
So for those 10 years, if we can just be patient with them, slow it down a little bit,
Yeah.
I think, tab time is where it's at.
That's always, they ask me, what's the adage that I always like live by? And it's like, you're going to be older a lot longer than you're going to be younger.
Man, ain't you?
Yeah, yeah.
You're going to adult for a very long time. But you know, even when we adult though, we refer back to the child inside.
Yeah.
And if the child's childhood was something great, then it's a good reflection. If it was a lot of trauma, it's tough.
Yeah.
And so I want to be part of the good reflection.
You spoke about Tab and Chance.
Yes.
25 years of marriage.
20 years of marriage, 25 together.
25 together.
Next month, April 19th.
The power of strong union
Mm-hmm.
versus the power of strong partnership.
Yeah.
And being married and having finances together.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the complexities of that.
Shoot. We are very rare. It has always been our money together. We struggled together, and we've never had separate bank accounts that we like keep away from each other. Everything, for a very long time, we had one. Everything just went in that one. Now we got multiple. But all of them are still ours. I don't know how other couples do it, because that also is not my business. But for me, it's like, if I ain't got it, he ain't got it. If he got it, I got it, right? Like, we in it together. So our foundation is locked, and we build together. That's just what it is. And don't matter how much we get, it's gonna still be the same,
So the one bank account, because that's an issue that a lot of people face.
Mm-hmm.
That's never been an issue for you guys.
No, but you gotta understand, we were very young. Been together since we was 19.
That's all you know.
That's all we knew. And listen, we had that one bank account, and we overdrafted that thing together, okay? we had no money, or many times, and we would have to budget, and try to figure it out. And when we started making money, the only time, the very first time he had to get a separate bank account was for a job that required it. They were like, you got to have a bank account. And I was like, oh, you gonna get a bank account?
You just gonna do that on me?
Yeah. And they wouldn't give me one because my credit was too bad back then.
Ooh.
And so and it was a joke. Then he's like, hey, you see that I got that credit. I was like, you got a 640. Cut it out. that was back then. But even then I knew what was in it. Even then he gave me a bank card.
Yeah.
It was never
a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't.
The two shall become one.
Yeah, it was never that. Even though you have old school, this is, I don't know if this, am I breaking the code? If I say this, the woman's code, the women be like, hey, you make sure you always keep a little stash. My granny used to tell, a woman should always have a little something. She have a little something stashed away. But
No, I respect. I mean, I got to ask you about that before. I had a personal situation before years ago, and it was like, I'm not doing that.
Now, this is the married side of it. This is the married side of the stage.
I ain't saying it was the bank account, but I'm just playing.
Touche.
Well played.
Touche.
But
Touche.
sometimes if you don't build together, you don't think you deserve to have a bank account together.
That's a fact. One last question before we finish. This is important. So the vegan, what exactly should we not be eating? Like, what were you eating that was an issue? What's some of the things that we should definitely avoid? Because, a lot of people say, like, even just because you're vegan doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy, right? That's why
Exactly. You can be a junk food vegan.
Exactly. They prefer the word, like, plant-based, right? So for educational purposes, like what were some of the things that you were eating, and then what were some of the things that you changed to that changed your life and your health?
So this is always kind of what takes people, throws them back. I wasn't a terrible eater, right? But I didn't eat to feel well. I ate to look a certain way, which is different.
Ate to look.
I ate to try to be thin.
Oh, so you didn't eat. So you didn't eat a lot.
Right. I didn't eat a lot, but I wasn't eating to
Nourish your body.
nourish my body. So I have not had red meat or pork since I was 15. I was only eating fish and chicken and turkey and veggies. I'm allergic to dairy, right? Dairy almost killed me. So that's first and foremost, none of us should be eating dairy.
That's a fact.
It is a fact.
That's a fact.
None of us. For me, I'm also allergic to soy. In the beginning, I was eating it, but I kept like having like moments where I would feel weird and I would get a headache that would start up and I was like, what is happening? And I did an allergy panel and found out I was allergic to soy. And also, if we listen to our body, when we eat something and our body tells us, it will tell us if it doesn't like it. So I would always tell people, the main things, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, we really shouldn't be eating chicken.
That's a fact too.
We should not be eating chicken.
That's a fact.
The hormones,
it's different.
It's
so not
different.
Even the same chicken anymore.
It is not. And a lot of people always be like, well, Tab, my grandma and my granddad, they lived to be, 95. I said, but they also knew the names of their animals that they ate.
Yeah.
They also probably slaughtered them themselves.
That chicken does not taste the same.
Exactly. And so, I never tried to force veganism on anybody. It is how I live my life. I started it for health reasons, and now I do it for health, for the planet, for the animals. I do it for all. That's why I don't wear leather. But the thing that I feel that changed my life was me not eating chicken and soy, and of course dairy, and it definitely healed me.
And then eating greens. So what did you start to eat?
I eat a lot of live foods, like the greens, right? A lot of berries, antioxidants.
Dark berries.
Dark berries, blueberries, blackberries, even raspberries, right? But leafy greens. Kale is a superfood. It is so healthy for us. Collards, and not the ones that you're going to soak in the pork.
No, not
in the fat.
Collard greens.
But you can eat the collards. You can still make them collard greens, but you can use some onion and some mushroom and some garlic to, season them. But, and I juice a lot.
What do you do for protein?
Same thing a cow do for protein.
Nothing?
Eat plants. So the misconception is that vegans don't get protein. So I always tell people, well, a lot of people think they eat a steak for protein. And I said, well, where do you think the cow got its protein? It didn't eat another cow.
That's a great point.
You eat chickpeas?
I love chickpeas.
So do I.
Yep, chickpeas is protein. Beans, nuts, lentils.
What about carbs?
Healthy carbs,
Like sweet potatoes?
Sweet potatoes, like wild rice.
But not rice. Not like
not white
mashed
rice.
potatoes and white rice.
Now, listen, Tab gave up potatoes for Lent because I love them. My mama used to love them. And I'd be like, anybody who love them that much, I need to give them up for 40 days,
A few more weeks.
Right, and bread, okay? But I love sweet potatoes, probably more than, the average person. But every now and then I'll do like a white potato, if I want like a baked potato. I like a Asian potato. They have like a sweet white potato. There's many healthy options of carbs. There's like lentil and pea pastas that you can have. If you don't want to do like heavy starches, you can do like zucchini and make that into your noodles. A lot of squash. You can use as noodles. Spaghetti squash you've had. So, you slice it up. And
I'm like almost vegan. The only thing that I can't, so I never ate pork my whole entire life. I stopped eating red meat when I was like 18. I stopped eating chicken 6 years ago. And I've been lactose intolerant my whole life, so I don't drink milk, hardly ever do any ice cream, anything like that. The only thing I need to give up is fish.
Yeah.
Fish I love fish so
Let me
so
tell you,
much.
this is my joke. I'd be like, when I'm awake, I'm vegan. When I'm asleep, I'm pescatarian. 'Cause I be dreaming about eating fish. Okay, let me just tell you, I count crab legs in my sleep.
But fish isn't good for you either, right?
Well, to me, because of how I lived my life. And because that was all I was eating and I was sick, I would think that. Some people won't agree with that. They'll think, oh no, you can still eat fish as long as it's a lean fish or as long as it's a white fish. But, shellfish, it's high in cholesterol.
Yeah.
It's terrible for people who have like arthritis.
Yeah.
Or,
Sodium content.
Oh, that's how my sister, now I remember. That's how my sister originally, because I've been telling her for a long time I wanted to be a vegan. And she sent me your page originally, like, well, she makes recipes and follow her to know what you're doing as far as the vegan lifestyle is concerned. I just realized, I just remembered that.
Yeah.
honey, this be trying to help you
I
out.
want to touch on it. So, this is my final point, because thank you for your time. You've been gracious with it. But a lot of times people walk up to us and they talk about how this financial education that we have has changed their lives. How's that been for you as far as changing people from a healthy standpoint with the recipes? Like, what are some of the most rewarding stories that you've had?
They are all, they are the things that bless me to make me know, like, oh, this is what God wanted me to do. When people say, I was a diabetic and I started watching your videos and I eat what you eat for the last 6 months, I'm not diabetic anymore. I used to be on blood pressure medication. I'm not on blood pressure medication anymore. I've lost 50 pounds, I'm not even on anxiety medication anymore. I used to have asthma. I didn't realize that I hadn't used my inhaler until I was moving. It was a year and a half after being vegan. I haven't used my inhaler now in almost 6 years. I don't have asthma anymore. But people tell me those things, and I'm like, oh my God. Even with skin, people don't realize how much what you eat affects your skin. And that blesses me, that people are changing their lives for the better. And I never take the credit for it. I consider myself a vessel, and a messenger. But I'm just sharing my story and how it changed my life. And I'm grateful that people say, oh, well, let me try it for me. That's why I would never force what I do on anybody. I just simply share, and I try to root it in love and laughter. But when people tell me that, of course, I have cried and hugged people and just been grateful that God uses me in that capacity. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. I know you got to get to your son's game. But definitely would love for you to come back at some point in time. And I look forward to, developing a strong relationship with you. We got a lot of different things that we do, so I'm sure we can potentially work together. And hope my sister is now happy that we got this done. I'm going to become a vegan.
I think my life has
have
changed.
one more
piece of shit.
I'm going to have like every fish. Every fish on the table.
Listen, I have a friend who is vegan, or plant-based, pretty much all the time, unless she travels. And when she travels, she's like, I gotta try to fish in other countries. And so,
Maybe I'll do that.
I think my life has been changed today.
Okay.
Honey, if you're watching.
Somebody about to go vegan?
30 days, let's just try it.
Listen,
together.
I always tell people, you deserve to try something, whether it's veganism, whether it's a business venture, whatever the case is. 30 days, you're worthy of 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
Yeah, 30 days.
Yeah.
Oh, anything you want to make the public aware of? You got anything coming out? Website, Instagram?
You can just follow me on I am Tabitha Brown everywhere. Yeah. So many great things happening, and I'm always posting about them. So
there you have it. Troy, housekeeping items?
Shawty, I'm not going to do housekeeping items today. I'm going to end it with this. Have a good day.
Oh.
And even if you don't go messing up anyone else's.
I love it.
Yeah,
very good.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.